Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Karen Morgan. I am the Senior Vice President at Johnson C. Smith University. I'm excited to be a part of this panel discussion today, and the panel is on disruption, how innovation is transforming students. I'd like to take a moment to introduce our panelists to you today. We have Vincent Washington from Sprinklr. Vincent loves technology and people. That's always important. For the last 25 years, Vincent has aligned those two loves into a career in digital marketing, social strategy, and customer experience. He has led teams at iconic companies like BlackBerry, LinkedIn, UPS, and Amazon. Vincent is currently a senior director with Sprinklr's Business Value Group. Vincent, welcome today. And
Thank you.
Thank you. We have DavidKadio-Mokoro. He is a New York-based principal in the advisory services practices of Ernst & Young, LLP, where he is the innovation leader for financial services. David has more than 18 years of experience providing advisory services to our largest financial services clients. In his current role, he helps our clients develop and industrialize innovation strategies to realize the opportunities offered by digitization and emerging technologies. Welcome to both David and Vincent. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
Great. Thank you. Good morning.
Great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. So as we delve into the discussion on disruption, we think about the concept of innovation and how companies are institutionalizing it within their culture. David, I'd like to start out with a question for you. How do you define innovation at Ernst & Young, and why is it critical?
Right. So Karen, the way we like to think of innovation at EY, and frankly broadly, is simply by defining it as finding new ways to create value for your customers, your employees, your community. It's as simple as that. And of course, there is nothing new to this, to defining innovation that way. But I think what's really different today is a number of factors that is really disrupting everything that we do as a society, whether it's at work, at home, on the go for entertainment. And it's been really a confluence of factors that includes a big demographic change with millennials and Gen Z and others, big geopolitical impact on our society, globalization, sustainability, a data explosion, of course, and huge technology advances. All of these factors really have driven a lot of disruption in every single industry out there. We've seen companies go from 0 to $1 billion in a flash by looking at the value chain, identifying problems, and finding way to bring solutions to unmet needs using technology, intuitive interface, and often platform-based systems. So lots of disruption. Those companies that are not able to innovate will fall victim to those disruptors. And that's why we think it's really, really critical for companies, especially large companies, to improve their ability to innovate inside, but also outside.
Thank you so much. Vincent, if we're looking through the lens of Sprinklr, how do you define innovation at Sprinklr, and why is it critical?
Well, I think the innovation from our end and all of these business disruptors, they come from customer experience. Customers become dissatisfied with either the service they're getting, and then they begin to look for new ways to find the solution. So Uber, for example, in the industry, if you ever had the experience of back in the day of actually calling a cab company and then waiting for a cab, and then they may or may not come, or just standing on the corner hoping you find one. Like all of these inexperiences are negative experiences from shopping, and they don't have the selection or the price or the inventory challenges, has pushed these disruptors through the industry. And then the technology pioneers have just come in and taken advantage of that, again, that customer need not being satisfied and pushed through. So at Sprinklr, what we've done in helping brands understand is listening to the pain points of those customers through all these modern channels, and actually helping them decide where their vulnerabilities are and where they can lean into improving the customer experience.
Excellent. And thinking about cabs, I remember having taxi companies on speed dial. Look how far we've come. David, could you tell us about some of the investments that Ernst & Young or some of your clients have made to foster innovation, the things that you mentioned earlier, and those factors that really affect how successful we are?
Absolutely. And that's this is something that we've been working on for many, many years. I would say actually the first thing that's really important, and I feel like sometimes companies miss that, is rethinking your purpose. You do not innovate. Innovation is about value, as we both said, Vincent and I. You do not innovate and you do not bring value if you don't have a clear purpose to align all your efforts. So at EY, if you noticed, we really changed our purpose a few years ago to building a better working world, and really orient our investment and our people towards that purpose. And many companies have done that as well. But if you look at our trajectory in the past couple of years, first of all, we've invested about $1 billion in technology and digital in the past couple of years on a global basis. Where did that money go? It went into our own infrastructure. So we're a large company, more than 300,000 people around the globe. We had a massive legacy infrastructure. We had to renovate that. We've moved a lot of our platforms and business in the cloud. As a matter of fact, I think we are the largest Azure consumer in the world. And I think we're on track to have 80% of our business at EY run in the cloud, which is really, really significant. We had to rethink our ecosystem. It doesn't matter how smart you think you are. No one has the monopoly on intelligence and innovation. So we had to bring and build alliances and really build a broad ecosystem around it so that we can continue to innovate our products and services and what we bring to our clients. So we've had a number of acquisitions, including software companies and innovation companies. We acquired a company called CogniStreamer, which is an innovation platform. We acquired a lot of digital studios to really help us with our user research and design for new product, a lot of analytical companies and so on. We've built alliances with universities and collaborate on various labs. A good example is our MIT Advanced Tax Lab, where we think of ways to disrupt the tax function. We invested in a broad network of what we call way spaces, which are state-of-the-art collaboration spaces that allow us to have a different dialogue with our clients. It used to be back in the days that in order to work with the client, you pick up your bags and you go to the client. We created these spaces that are highly collaborative, state-of-the-art equipment that communicate with each other to bring our clients in and work with them and co-create value with them. And we have 27 of those around the globe that communicate with each other on a seamless basis. And I can go on and on and on, but the one thing that I do want to spend some time on is also our people investment. You don't innovate without purpose. You don't innovate without empowered people. And we've invested a lot in our people, whether it's our STEM recruiting, And we had to bring in a lot of different people with very different skill set that we had traditionally, finance, and accounting, and tax. We had to bring engineers and designers and ethnographs and data scientists. So really investing in that. Investing into our own education program, we launched what we call the badge program, which is a digital credential that anybody can learn. And then I'm really excited about this one. We are launching this year a free tech MBA. Anybody at EY globally can earn a tech MBA while working at EY for free. It's a collaboration with Holt International Business School, and it's going to allow people to not only learn and study and acquire skills in technology and digital, but also in sustainability and purpose and all of that. So all these investments have to be around the purpose, and they have to touch infrastructure, internal operation, capability ecosystem, and the people. And that's really what we've done. And that's what we see a lot of our clients do in different ways.
Excellent. That's a wonderful initiative. I look forward to learning more about it and maybe even considering how our institution may be able to partner and take advantage of what you have to offer. I do appreciate that as you spoke about innovation and EY, the nucleus of all of that was that of empowering people.
Yes.
And taking advantage of that. So Vincent, from your perspective, could you speak to what Sprinklr is doing to empower people and how you are overcoming some of the impediments, if you will, to innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love David's statement too around having that purpose in the organization, and then getting separate teams to align with that purpose. And so what we really do with Sprinklr when we help different brands is that we do look at the people, the process, and then the technology. And so what we do, we go in, we align with them, like, what is the business goals? You know, what are you, technology is only a tool that's going to help enable you achieve those. So what are those? And then we help to break down the different silos of the different organizations. Most companies that we've seen, as some partners that we've worked with, is that there may be a marketing team that just does marketing, or there may be a customer service team that just does customer service. But many upsell and opportunities and product innovations, those ideas actually come through the customer service channel, where people are calling in, and it's not a help issue, but it's maybe a product innovation issue. And so what Sprinklr does really well is enables a process where now these customer service teams can get this insight over to the marketing teams or the product developers that actually enable them to do their jobs better. So what I see as really, how do you get over those hurdles with innovation? It's really around connectivity between the multiple teams and how you align to the overall vision of the company, regardless of what your current role is or group that you're working in. Is that cross-functional amplification of your efforts is what's important that we see having an impact.
Excellent. So I am an unabashedly self-identified, probably GERK, which is taking geek and nerd and combining those together. And so when we think about, we'll switch it a little bit and let's talk about disruption, if you will. And if, I might be aging myself, or perhaps I aged myself when I said I had taxi companies on speed dial, but that's okay. But we are living in an age of social media, and social media has disrupted the traditional consumer marketing funnels. Social listening is a powerful solution for brands who want to connect with those consumers. But of course, it's not perfect in every situation. What are the advantages and disadvantages to consider before determining whether social listening is right for your organization? And Vincent, I'd like to start with you. Once again, what are the advantages and disadvantages to consider before determining whether social listening is right for your organization?
No, that's a great question. Thank you. I believe that like every good relationship begins with listening, whether it's your personal relationship, a business relationship, or a business's relationship with their consumers. You know, you have to listen and eventually learn what they care about. I think many marketers today, many companies, they go in their back room and they have this research and they develop this marketing strategy, and then they want to introduce it to the world and think they have, you know, the magic bullet to cause a change or to bring people to their solution. But oftentimes it comes out as I'm sure you've had this experience where you're either at a business function or at a party and you're having a conversation with someone, and you guys are, you know, it's a good conversation. And then the third party comes in and they start talking about something else. And not only are they talking about something else, they're talking about it louder than you two are talking. And so it comes off as intrusive and rude. And I think that's where a lot of marketing campaigns kind of fall down, is that instead of listening to what the voice is and what the conversation is, and then adding your authentic voice to that conversation with your product, service, or solution, makes it it's received better and it makes it more authentic. And so when we look at social listening programs for organizations, it's really with the mindset of can you listen and then bring it to some actionability, leverage that insight for some future actionability, either with your marketing content or your product selection. But if you don't have that mindset initially to say, I'm going to listen for a purpose, then the listening is really just missed. It just becomes a shallow activity of building all these queries and just people just thumbing through one-offs for some type of email that they want to send out, right? Instead of true actionability that informs your future actions.
And we hear the word purpose again, listening with a purpose. David, you alluded to purpose earlier and how that is something that motivates in why. If you could also address what are the advantages and disadvantages to consider before determining whether social listening is right for your organization, that would be great.
Sure, of course. And I'll take a slightly different view because my focus is helping large financial services organizations, so really large corporate as opposed to individuals. But this is something that, from that perspective, it's becoming incredibly useful and critical in helping our clients with certain part of their businesses. Whether it's surveillance or anti-money laundering or risk assessment or others, really understanding and collecting noise and see what is happening across, whether it's reputational risk as well, what is going across their environment is something that has been critical and that we have incorporated into some of the products and services that we sold them.
So I'd like to just pose a question to both of you relative to industry disruptors. Perhaps you can speak personally, David for E&Y, Vincent for Sprinklr, or just in general, in the theme of people, process, and technology. What have been some industry disruptors you've encountered? And then how do you protect your company from industry disruptors? Vincent, we'll start with you.
That's a great question. And I think I may be dating myself as well, but when I started my career at BlackBerry, the idea of getting your email outside of your company's firewall was like, it was a crazy idea. You know, people thought like, what are you talking about? And, or just imagining the end of a workday, you know, at 5 or 6 p.m., you turn off your computer and the expectation was you were unreachable until 8 a.m. the next morning, right? So looking at that, the BlackBerry days and how we like literally went around the world and changed the way every professional in the world worked. It is something that like I always remember. and I'm always very proud of. But I think even today, as you look at industry disruptors and how companies can protect themselves against it, I think we hear this term cancel culture, and it's really, for me, I think it's just people have branded an action. I think everyone has a right to lend their support or take away their support from a company that either doesn't support them as an individually or them as a collective. And while the branding of cancel culture may or may not fade away, I think the action will always still be there. I mean, everything from back when Spike Lee and Do the Right Thing and Boycott Sal's. I mean, that's always been a part of kind of like what we do. So I think for a brand, again, how they protect themselves, again, is listening to their consumers, aligning, with the values that they believe in and they feel adamant about supporting, but then understanding that consumers have a voice in these modern channels. Like, that's not going to go away. They have the opportunity to reach out and to affect thousands of people with their messages. So brands have to plan for that. Brands have to get a strategy in place to listen and address, but then also to internalize what they're hearing and the feedback they're getting, and seeing if there's something they need to change within their own organization to either better serve or serve that community in general.
Thank you. Sounds like you have another innovator in the background.
I apologize for that. Thank you.
Apologize. This is what Zoom and WebEx and all of the other virtual environments do for us. It even makes us much more human. David.
Well, he has one job, and that's to watch the door. So he's
Yes. So David, would you also address the question, how do you protect your company from industry disruptors?
Yeah, no, I think that's really critical. And as we said earlier, disruption is everywhere, and no industry is exempt from it, including ours, professional services. And so to me, there are a couple of things. One is, I think it's really important for any company to realize that what has made them successful in the past is not necessarily what's going to make them successful in the future or today. And that's a really difficult for most organizations to realize. And it's almost a human behavior it's difficult to let go something that really was very successful for you. And I think Vincent talked about Uber, right? It's a great example, but there is no reason why, I don't know, Ford or Hertz couldn't come up with Uber from inside the company, as opposed to being disrupted by an Uber externally. There is no reason for, I don't know, Marriott or Hilton not to come up with Airbnb, or Blockbuster not to come up with Netflix and so on. So number one, realize that your existing business model can and needs to change based on what your customers demand from you. And so that's one thing. The second thing is cultural. I think most organizations are risk averse. We should be very honest with that. It doesn't matter whether you're EY, whether you are even Yahoo or whatever, most organizations are risk averse. And in order to innovate and in order to fight those disruptors, you have to be willing to take calculated risk, controlled risk, okay? And a company that does that really, really well is Amazon. And there are a lot of case studies, I think, that we could write on Amazon about their culture of taking risk, their culture of not being afraid of failing, or even encouraging failure. I think most people here, we talked about BlackBerry, so I'm going to bring up another device that no longer exists. Most people here, I know nobody on the line, on the call, has an Amazon Fire Phone. And I know that because the Fire Phone came out in 2014, I think, and they shut it down 4 months later after the launch, trying to compete against iPhone and Android. And it was a monumental flop. Amazon took $100 million of write-off for that. Okay? Now, for that failure, did Jeff Bezos fire, like most CEO would have, fire the executive in charge of the Fire Phone? No. He told him, and I forgot his name, he told him, please do not lose 1 minute of sleep over this failure.
Right.
And we're talking about $100 million of losses.
Right.
We're talking about 10% drop in stock prices, investors losing confidence, and so on. He said, promise me you will not lose a minute of sleep. What he also did to that same executive, he gave him $50 million to start a new project, ironically based on one small component of the Fire Phone. Do you know what it is, Karen? I'm sorry?
I ask, what is that?
Alexa.
Yeah.
Alexa was a component, a little gizmo in the Fire Phone. He gave the executive 50 mil, and Alexa is picking that up in my living room. Sorry about that. But he gave him $50 million to work on that project. And now Amazon has shipped or included Alexa in 100 million devices.
Yeah, and David, I would say, as an Amazon former Amazon employee, and being in that environment, I mean, you're absolutely right. People I've seen in multiple businesses that say it's okay to fail, but they really don't mean it, right? Mean it. And Amazon, that truly was a case that you are encouraged to fail, but fail fast. What was the caveat, right? Fail fast. Take the learnings to the next project. And what that does, it frees everyone up on the team to be innovative and to think freely and to push to see what we can do. So I mean, that's a great call out as a thought methodology. But there's one challenge I would say for you when you're saying earlier about innovations and how companies should think about it. I always think about Kodak and the digital camera being created, in the basement at Kodak.
That's right.
And I can't imagine the pressure on that team and that group at the time to say, 99% of our revenue is coming from paper and ink, and you want us to introduce a product that moves completely away from paper and ink. Yeah. So, as they say, innovation, it may be simple, but it's not easy. And I think, as you stated, as companies challenge themselves and they think through that process, then they, you really have to look at the long-term impact and really have some short-term arguments for investors to grow that vision.
No, that's exactly right. You're absolutely right, Vincent. And really looking at your portfolio of innovation across multiple horizons. Right? There is a short term, right? We need to protect the cash cow, but we also need to leave a little bit of room for those disruptive innovation, which frankly may not have any revenue for the next 5 years, but not having a balanced portfolio of innovation across multiple horizons is the surest way to end up like Kodak and not like Amazon.
Yeah.
Vincent and David, it seems like we just began this conversation. Here we are, ready to end this conversation. Thank you very much. And as we think about disruptors in industry and innovation, a prevalent theme that comes to mind after listening to both of you share with the audience is, I would say, the profundity of progressive possibilities permeates the very essence of our being. Tell us it can't be done, and we'll just tell you it hasn't been done yet. Right. And that's pretty much where we are. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank the audience for joining us today. I also would like to say next on the agenda, we will have closing remarks by Representative Mark Walker. Have a great day, everyone.
Congresswoman Adams, thank you for hosting this year's HBCU Diversity in Tech Summit. I'm honored to lend my voice to such an important issue, and I applaud your work in this arena. When we talk about tech, the conversation immediately goes to STEM. The two go hand in hand, but ultimately, what we're talking about is jobs. In my home state of North Carolina, STEM is a major driver for job creation and greatly contributes to the overall economy. According to the Department of Labor, Raleigh's Research Triangle Park and the Durham-Chapel Hill region are ranked in the top 15 for high-tech STEM operations in the country. In these two areas of the state, STEM jobs are responsible for employing 900,000 North Carolinians with an average income of $80,000 annually. Even with these astounding employment figures, many well-paying STEM jobs go unfulfilled. Currently, the supply of available STEM workers simply cannot meet the demand of job openings. I hear this all the time when I am home in the district and around the state. It is critical that we not only have highly trained workforce to fill these opportunities, but a workforce that looks like America. Fortunately, several HBCUs, including North Carolina A&T State University in my home district, are working hard to prepare the next generation of American workers. North Carolina A&T houses a College of Science and Technology program which uses cutting-edge technology and state-of-the-art science laboratories to prepare for the next wave of STEM professionals in our home state. This is just one of the many ways HBCUs are working hard to provide a pipeline of highly skilled and diverse talent. Fortunately, the government also has a role in this process. Throughout my years in Congress, I have been honored to advocate and work with my colleagues to support these important historic institutions. One of our efforts, which I am especially proud of, is launching and partnering with South Carolina Senator Tim Scott on our annual HBCU Fly-In. These events not only forge partnerships between government and HBCUs, but are platforms to speak directly to leaders in government that led to year-round Pell Grants and permanent HBCU funding. As noted, the issue of diversity in tech is neither a Republican nor Democrat issue. It's an American issue. In this nation, diversity is our strength. I hope we can all be proud of the collective work leaders in Washington have accomplished in elevating the issue of diversity in the American workforce. Thank you all, and I look forward to visiting with you again.